everybody. Welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here, your commentator, alongside me, TK, who is going to be rounding off the season with me.
Down the inside,
absolutely possible season.
This is for the win between these two.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
He needs to get it done now.
Blakey will dive to the inside.
We're robust. We've got our elbows out.
Ronard takes the lead.
Yes, here comes Alfie Butcher.
Can't really complain with that one.
It's not going to be easy. The pressure is on, of course.
Yana Watmere is your champion.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome back to PSGL for social race number 5 here with Split 1 over on the PC platform. It's a pleasure to be back in the commentary box for some great racing action. And, well, Ben, we haven't been together since season 37, 5 whole seasons ago. It's a pleasure to be joined once again by you and your logo in the commentary box. How are you doing this evening?
Well, if I wasn't absolutely sweltering, hence the lack of camera, I'd say I'd be brilliant. But it's still a pretty good evening because, of course, we're here. We're making social races into a full calendar season at this rate, but it's really nice to see the amount of drivers who are coming in, turning up, and we've got a heck of a roster here tonight who are going to be joining us for another one of our social races. It's always good to have these just as a test bed, allows us to simultaneously get everything underway, get everything working just right for the mainline season, and especially where this is we'll say an unprecedented circumstance with the latest game being in fact a DLC. It's a little bit of an adjustment period for sure.
Certainly, and of course tonight we are racing at the best track of all, Silverstone. Of course, after England's win last night, I'm very am happy to be here in the UK, in England, for tonight's social race. Of course, 18 corners long is this circuit, one of the most iconic on the calendar. And the great thing about Silverstone is it's, one, not very easy, so we get to see the level of what the drivers are at, but also you get such a variety of different corners, lots of medium speed, high speed, and quite a few low speed corners. So that will make racing interesting because that means they're going to have to do a lot of managing with the battery. And I'd imagine maybe heading into like the final chicane, heading down towards the loop, we're going to see a lot of drivers lifting very early to gain all that battery ready for those short straights down to the next couple of corners.
Yeah, I mean, the driving dynamics are fundamentally different with these new cars, new specifications, new regs, and there is a lot to learn quite quickly. The systems with these cars and how they simulate certain phenomena like super clipping. I know that's a contentious point in IRL counterpart, but at the same time, it's a nuance that these league racers, these drivers are having to very quickly learn and adjust to. And I mean, even you can see on the track maps, there's a few different but very important changes.
Yes, there certainly are. Of course, we've got the straight mode and the overtake mode and boost, which are all jumping into F1 and making things rather interesting, making things a little bit more of a challenge for the drivers as well, which I suppose, give it maybe a month or two by the time we get into the new season, I'd imagine most of them are pretty much up to scraps with the way the new battery works and how they have to manage themselves throughout a qualifying and a race. But for now, it's all about learning. I mean, many of these drivers, I think we've seen take part in every social race. Some of them maybe have done one or two. So I think we are going to see the disparity not in pace, but rather in knowing how to manage that battery correctly.
Yeah, and if I had to characterize the new battery behavior and, of course, the increased reliance on the EV side or the power unit, it's very, I don't know, bursty is not really the right word, but it kind of is, because you are leveraging that electric power so much more and so much more aggressively than you have in previous regulations.
Yes, certainly. And I think we're just going to spot one driver heading out for their first lap of the session. It's Marcel Pabst, who, of course, made his move to Thibaut Courtard Esports very recently. Of course, if you don't know who Thibaut Courtard is, he's probably one of the best goalkeepers in the world, currently starting for Belgium in the World Cup at the moment. And, of course, has got his own Spanish competitions over in the F4 category, the junior series level of racing. So he's putting his finger in all pies at the minute when it comes to racing. And of course, TC Sports launching a couple of weeks ago, but trying to get themselves as a mark in sim racing, and hopefully in the future try and enter themselves into the main competition itself, which I'd imagine is probably their main goal.
Yeah, well, it's always good to see some new names making appearances, and while it's not a new name in the traditional sense, it's certainly a new name to this space, and one that we're hoping will make quite the splash, as perhaps is certainly pushing that Audi F1 car to the absolute limit. You can see right there, so this is exactly what we mean about leveraging that battery power. Look at how quickly it dissipates and expends, but also how quickly it charges. You are fluctuating power levels a lot more here as the first inaugural lap of the session is set. It's a 26.743.
Indeed, and we'll go for a ride with the Red Bull here of Elia Tomasetto. One of my favourite cars in the game is the Red Bull. One, the livery. Second of all, it sounds brilliant in the F1 26 DLC, as we do see Pascal Gill jump up to second place, just 3.5 tenths off the pace there of Marcel Paps, so a nice lap for him. And Ivan Eskrig goes up to P2, of course part of FVR, I believe, jumping over from console recently. I've not seen his name pop up too much on this platform. And Valentino Labella, a driver that's been here for a very long time, jumps up into third. What about Tomasetto? What can he set on the board? He goes fastest by over a tenth and a half. A great benchmark from him here. But we've got many of our big hitters yet to set times. Of course, one of them being Liam Stevens, part of the Aston Martin team. But today, driving a Mercedes.
Yeah, a little bit of a change of coat, change of colour, but you made a bit of a nod, and I do want to sort of harp on that as well. These cars, I'm not sure what it is about them. Maybe it's just the change of the body style, or if it is the changes in the liveries, but they visually, they look smaller and they look faster. And the drivers are certainly being put to the test as we see multiple different machines, multiple new coats of paint, all making their way around.
Certainly up. Here is Avi Gabadi making his way down towards turn 3. Was part of Veloci Academy, joined there late of last game, and I'd imagine be here for the majority of this game. Popped up out of nowhere pretty much and was right up into F3, and then I believe moved into F2 at some point. And now certainly proving that he is one of the best at the moment in the community. As we did see there, Lucas Beisnat go to P2 now. He's a driver that has always been around that F3, F4 level, but so far this game, he's always been right up at the top. So maybe he's a bit of what you call a dark horse heading into F1 26. He's managed that, managed to learn the battery quite well so far. And once again, up near the top, sitting P2 currently, 1,000th ahead of Zalan Bieda in third place. Of course, part of TRT. Let's see what Gabadi can do. Of course, we've got Cloud as well, who I believe was on PlayStation last game. He's made the move over to PC. He's in the Williams currently, making his way through the middle sector. Let's see what Gabadi can do, heading into the final couple of corners.
There's a last couple of swings through here, and nicely executed there. It's very careful. You've got to be very careful of those final couple of curbs. A little bit too much, the stewards will punish you very harshly here. As Cloud, also the Veloci Academy driver, now making their way through. It's going to be in the Williams F1 team. Coat of paint, so a little bit of a rebrand, rename, but still same old Williams as it comes through. 26.693, really pushing hard here. And you can see the different modes, the active aero of these cars starting to come a bit more into play. As you can see the S mode appearing on your screens right there.
Certainly, as Valentino Labella has called it quits in the pit lane, I would believe, so he will start best 10th. I'd imagine he's probably going to end up around 17th. I don't imagine that everybody here will be slower than a 126.8, because that's already 3 tenths away from that pole position time currently of a 126.569. Of course, held here by Elia Tomasetto in the Red Bull at the minute, and Finn will not be on a lap at the moment here. I'd imagine he's heading back into the pit lane, looking for drivers on laps. Salva Olmedo here, he's P7 currently, part of VLS, and for a driver of that roster, definitely great to see him up here in Split 1. Doing them a really parade at the moment. He makes his way back into the pit lane, so he won't continue on this lap. The next one to start a lap, I believe, will be the V carb, as Liam Stevens has expected, decided to go to the back of the grid. I'd imagine it might be Takubi. No, it's not Takubi. Who will it be? in a dark blue car. That's cleared, so maybe it is going to be Ivan, the next car, to set a lap. He's currently heading through Sector 2 at the moment. I mean, looking at the gaps at the moment, Ben, we've got 2.5, 3 tenths separating the top 10. Given it's a brand new game and they're at a track they haven't raced at yet, this is quite promising at the moment, isn't it?
Well, it's yes and a no in a way that we have got still a tight grid spread, but this is the upper split. We would expect those margins to be a little bit finer. And it is fundamentally the same track, but how these cars behave and respond is the real differentiating factor. So it's less so about reacclimatizing to a sort of new engine, new cycle, and more just reacclimatizing to the car and how it feels, those different modes. And again, it goes back to those driving dynamics we were saying about earlier, and how differently the car behaves under throttle, mid corner, late corner, and exactly how you apply power. I mean, right there, say 50% battery, all the way jumping up to about 80% in a single corner. So definitely getting used to the power units, new characteristics, new behavior, and of course, as we engage straight mode, the active aero, really pushing those higher speeds now.
Certainly, and I think one thing as well that drivers are going to have to be wary of is when you get, as that's going to be Ivan lifting off on that lap, when you get yellow flags come out on track, it does on occasion disable the overtake mode, which of course is crucial on a qualifying lap. So that's a bit of a gremlin that the drivers have to deal with. It's not been too much of an issue so far, but drivers have been complaining about it. I'm hoping that there's going to be some sort of workaround by the time we head into the main season. Oh, that's a bit of contact, and that's the front wing on the right-hand side gone for Pascal Gill. I think that was one of the Red Bulls. So it will be Eli Tomasetto. Didn't quite see Pascal coming through at speed and, well, blocks him completely and has damage on, I think, both cars. That is not ideal for the Red Bull. And, well, if that was in the main season, it would probably be given as a qualifying ban. So, luckily, it is not. But that's Pascal's lap over and done with. Let's have a look here at Dirk Vermont, who's making his way through the end of Sector 1 in the Audi. Of course, one of the brand new teams in the game. And I've got to say, Ben, what do you think of this livery? Because I don't know whether I like it or not. It's such a weird livery. It looks basic. On the one hand, I don't like the colours, but on the other hand, it's quite smooth and it's quite simple, isn't it? It does the job.
I like it apart from one thing.
It's an Audi.
That that red patch. The
Yes.
red patch. There's like when you see a race car, when you see a Formula 1 car, the graphics of the livery do just as much of a job as making the car look fast as the actual body shape and styling and the physical lines of the car. Now, I love the new actual proportions and the body of these new F1 cars, the new specification. While it has produced its sort of its own little nuances, problems, however you want to view it, the physical profile of the F1 cars, I prefer to the smoother but boaty looking F1 sort of previous specification. But that red on the Audi livery, it makes the car look way too static because it's just a straight vertical line. If it had even like a 10 or 20 degree incline in line with the side pods, I'd be singing that livery's praises to the hills. But that hard right angle, it does kind of bring the livery down for me.
I suppose it's a little bit like the black line on the McLaren. I mean, I've never... Bieda goes
exactly.
quickest.
The dynamics of the car, right?
Yeah. I've never been keen on the McLaren liveries myself. Not these colours anyway. Of course, the old McLarens are brilliant, but nowadays I'm not quite keen on their liveries. But we do have cars coming through. Marcel Pabst goes into P2. Lucas Beissner returns himself back up into the top 4. Just trying to find drivers in the final set. So we've got Ave Gabani here. 1/10 up on his previous best. Up to the line. Goes to P6. So we are finding drivers with big improvements on their best laps, as Wojtek Steg will not improve on that one, as I believe that was someone else jumping up the timings. As here's Tom Wolfgrupp making his way back down towards turn 3, as Cloud jumps up into the top 5 about 80 thousandths away from pole position. So he's had a good qualifying session so far. Let's see. I believe that will be the Williams of Takubi, up by just over 1/10.5 on his previous best lap time. Up to the line, what would it be for him? Goes up into the top 10. Then we have the Haas of Finn Geertz, and I've got Alpine and Audi before I said the word Haas. I don't know where I got those two cars from. And I believe that might be all of the competitive laps set at the moment. But Zanabierda up to the top with the McLaren by only 2/1000ths of a second. We said the gaps could be a little bit shorter, Ben, and, well, they've listened to us. The top 10, 2.5 tenths of a second, but crucially, the top 8 is not even a tenth of a second at the moment.
I mean, it's worth mentioning as well that we do have a reduced pool of drivers. We have, while we do have the 11th team on the grid, we do also have a lot of them who have bowed out of the qualifying of the social race, either intentionally or otherwise, who have not set time. So we have 7 out of the, well, out of the roster, we have, 7 cars who have bowed out, but 6 of them who have not set times whatsoever.
Certainly, yes, and that's the likes of Liam Stevens and Angelo D'Ortenzio, of course, both development drivers. Liam for Aston Martin and Angelo over at Ferrari. I'd imagine Angelo himself will be looking at an esports seat next season. There's no way he should be left out, in my opinion. Superb driver. You've got Tony Hietala as well, of course, last season's PSGL PCF2 champion. Supply Raptor, I believe, also moving over from PlayStation or Xbox recently. We've got Gabriel Quintino, who of course is now at DMT. D'Amata Racing, owned by Cristiano D'Amata, ex-Toyota F1 driver, racing in the early 2000s. I believe around the same time that Thomas Eng was in F1 as well. So those two could reunite each other on the grid. We've got Zach Styler as well, the sole, I believe, pad driver in this lobby. And he's also taken a liking to F1 26 so far. And then, of course, we have Valentino Labella, bit of a veteran at the moment, has been here for many, many years. He's also called it quits, but he did set a lap time in the first place. But I'd imagine Sappy, he set a benchmark because he knows chances are he's going to start where he wants to anyway, which is near the back with the others.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, all of these drivers are still competitive. It is worth remembering this is still a social race. So the stakes ultimately are a bit lower. It is a chance for some drivers to treat this as a bit more of a test for themselves rather than having everything on the line, everything in terms of stakes. Now, I'm not saying, and I'm not recommending or condoning by any stretch of the imagination that anyone does and decides to take this as a last to first challenge. That is not what I am saying. But some of the drivers could use this as a development platform, like a live simulation, if you will. Let's say they struggle with mid to lower pack fighting. They struggle with keeping the consistency high while still under pressure. This is the perfect test bed because you still have that top brass talent and simultaneously you don't have any of the risk associated with the championships.
Certainly, and I suppose as well the drivers know there's no stakes at hold here, so some of them are probably going to have a little bit of fun. Why not? You know, before the main season gets underway, because obviously a lot of the time when you go into open lobbies, you're not going to have a field full of drivers who are 2 tenths together and, you know, we're always right up at the top of the timings. You're going to have a big disparity, so it gives them an opportunity to have a bit of fun, but still be in a competitive session. So, you know, the likes of Tony, Liam and Angelo, I'd imagine by the end of it, are probably going to be in the top 10. Are they going to win? I doubt it, but they'll still get themselves a top 10 finish, and they'll be quite happy with that. You know, just have a play around, and also an opportunity to see what can happen as well heading into the season, in the fact of, you'd imagine that some of those at the bottom are normally up near the top in qualifying, so they plan for a race where they're at the front of the field or in the mid-pack. Now, they're putting themselves in a position where they're at the back of the pack. So they can now kind of think, well, if we do have an issue where we maybe get unfairly disqualified in the session due to a glitch, or if we can't quite get a lap time on the board, well, now we can practice what would we do from this position, because it's rarely going to happen. But they need to be prepared.
Yeah, it's all about that preparation, and this is still a stiff competition. It is still a social race. It's not just an open track day, so they will have to still put the effort in. They will still have to really bring their best to the racetrack, as those timings and the outlaps, the deluge of outlaps that are now coming across the screens, they're still taking it seriously. They're still practicing strategy and pit timings for the qualifying sessions and gauging the pace of the cars around certain sections of the course.
Certainly. So these are the final runs in this qualifying session. Lucas Beisner is out first. Of course, he's been haunted by those yellow flags. Let's hope it doesn't harm him too much on track at the moment. We'll see what sort of improvements he has in Sector 2 in a moment, making his way down towards the infamous Cops Corner. Keeps it in 8th gear, then shifts down late to 7th, and then back on the power straight away. And he's got around 30% battery at the moment. Here, he can use this opportunity to gain some back and then pare it down the hanger straight down towards Stoke Hall, and let's see what he can do in the middle sector.
Let's see what kind of pace he can muster as we go all the way through that 8-speed gearbox and quickly sweeping down now into Stowe, keeping as much of the speed as you can. You don't have as much aerodynamic grip as you do in previous iterations. These cars are, in fact, on paper slower, but it's where you get those dynamics and, again, the active aero and hopefully a bit more combat between the cars. Beisner to the line, 4.77, new fastest time. Let's see what the rest of the field can muster. Bieda coming up to line in his McLaren likewise. Can he match the energy? Is going to be an improvement, but not enough to hold firm. Pabst is also going to be coming through in the Audi, and what time is it going to be? It's a 4.90, so it's just going to sweep the McLaren down a peg as Avi Gabbardi comes to the line, and also the consistency is off the charts. It's within hundreds, it's within milliseconds. This isn't just tenths in qualifying, this is something else entirely.
Certainly is, as Cloud doesn't improve on that P6 spot. Same for Wojtek Steg, stays outside of the top 10. Both Martinez and Gill will stay at the back of the field as Thomas Seto goes quickest by just under a tenth of a second. What about Ivan Eskrig? Jumps up into the top 5. What about Dirk Vermont here? Was very powerful at the start of this qualifying session as Gabbardi goes up to 4th place. What can Vermont do in the Audi? Up to the line goes. Just, I believe, into the top 5. And it will be Elliot Tomasetto that starts on pole position, of course, as challenging for pole all the way through that session. Definitely one of the expectations for taking that in the end. In the Red Bull, a 126.395. The only driver in the .3s, and behind him will be Lucas Beissner. Then it's Marcel Pabst in 3rd, ahead of Ava Gabbardi and Dirk Vermont in the top 5. Great for the Audis. Then we have the McLaren of Zalan Bieda in P6, ahead of Ivan Eskrig. Then both the Williams of Clayton Takubi, 8th and 9th. Tom Wolfgram reigns off the top 10. Then we have Salva Olmedo, Finn Gertz, Wojtek Steg, Valentino Labella, David Martinez, Pascal Gill, Zach Styler, Gabriel Quintino, Supply Ratza, Tony Hietala, Liam Stevens, and reining off the field, Angelo D'Ortenzio. That is your full 22 heading into the main race. I mean, what sort of expectation are we having here, Ben? Do you reckon this will be more of a pit stop strategy battle, battery management, or overall pace? Because at the moment, we don't really have a clue at all, do we? It's all a guessing game.
Well, I'm expecting a restart because apparently D'Ortenzio can't rejoin.
Oh,
we'll have to wait and see for that one. We haven't got official confirmation from the lobby host, but we will get back to you that soon as possible. In terms of the actual strategy of the race and how it's going to play out, I think it's going to be a race that operates in phases. Specifically, I think that the first half of the race is going to be that raw, rough edge racing that we've all come to expect. And I think as soon as we get outside of, I'd say, the first 3 or 4 laps, it's all going to be about modulating the resources available to us. So you'll be looking at drivers who are strategically putting the pressure down, heading into corners like Brooklands, like Cops. Maybe we'll see a bit of push into Stowe, but with how battery expends and how quickly it burns out, I wouldn't be surprised if we even see some drivers try their luck. If you get, let's say, an early overtake attempt coming out of Chapel, if they go for the early burn, there's no reason why you can't see the push come immediately after and cap them off into Stowe. But it's 5 red lights anyway. The track is hot here tonight, and we are immediately away for a quick and swift startup. It's mediums all round with an occasional couple of outliers. We've got a couple of hards and 1 soft tyre courtesy of Angelo D'Ortenzio, but it's side by side all the way. The Williams cars are going to go pushing hard, pushing through. As we get into Village and through the loop, it's looking like Thomas Seto is trying to get that clean getaway right from the jump. Avi Gabbardi to the back of Marcel Pabst, and you already see fighters go side by side. Here is Zalan Bieda going to the outside, but you have the other Audi of Vermont holding the apex as we come out of Brooklands now into Luffield. It's going to be hard fought positions all the way through this top half of the grid. Lower down, you do have just as much combat going on, but look how much they are moving across the field and moving across the width of the track. Just try and look at angles. There is almost serious issues coming in as that's Vermont and Bieda making contact and nearly getting into a major scuffle coming through Cops as we get into Maggott and Beckett's now.
2021 comes to mind there, heading through into Cops Corner. Very scary moment for both Zalan Bieda and Dirk Vermont. Of course, his issue started down at Woodcote when he went for the move up the inside. Got forced on the grass. Oh, dear me, there's cars down at the back of the field. That's Gabriel Quintino and Liam Stevens. And great, I can't switch to 21st and 22nd. Their races are probably done and dusted here, I'd imagine. Of course, very far away from the field. And now with heavy damage, as that's going to be Marcel Paps round. I'm trying to catch him. He's all the way at the back of the field, down to 19th place. And whether he's got damage or not, I don't know. But he's certainly not in a good position now. Down to near the back of the field as Dirk Vermont is still looking for the send on Zalambiera. To Ivan Eskrig is joining the battle as well in the V-carb up the inside of Dirk. Has the outside in towards the loop, but I don't think can get anything done there unless he can get his foot to the floor first. No, stays in P6 for now, but he's going to have a good run down towards Brooklyn's corner further back as well. We see Zach Styler making a move as well for P11.
Quintino's quit. Quintino's out. At least has disconnected from the session as this one has gone from bad to worse. Of course, that contact coming out at Chapel had sort of set things in motion, and I don't think it's in a position where they find it recoverable. Again, social race, so they're bowing out a little bit early here. We do see Liam Stearns returning and coming out of the pit, so remains committed to the race, but we'll have to see how it plays out. Saba Almeida in the Aston right now, and it's looking like a little bit of a squeeze further up. We see Vermont continue as they have switched gears. Instead of fighting with Bieda up in P4, they're switching to the other McLaren as Teki B, Wojtek Steg just behind as well. It's a drag race as we get out through the hangar straight, but this is exactly what we mean. Notice the early burn and notice how open they were left heading into Stowe.
Of course, and Dirk Vermont here struggling at the minute, down to P8 now at the minute, and could be down to P9 as Cloud on the hard tyres. He's looking to make a swoop around the outside in towards the chicane, and he's had to back off there. He's caught a bit of trouble, and that's going to be Zach Styler going through into P9 in the Cadillac. Then we have Salva Olmedo on the back of Cloud, but he's not quite close enough here to make a challenge, as now Zach Styler goes through on Dirk Vermont, and he's certainly struggling, isn't he, in these conditions at the minute. He's gone for a send up the inside, can't do anything there against Zach, and that also leaves Salva Olmedo on the back of Cloud looking to go through, but he can't find a move there. Has to stick back for now, and of course with the way the battery works here, drivers have got to be careful. One mistake made and they're going to fall through the field. It does seem though that Angelo's got going again. Either that or the AI is insane, one of the two.
Well, you never really know. You flip a coin, you know. And it looks like the drivers have mostly stabilized in terms of positions. We still have a few fights, plenty of action though going on. Here is David Martinez on the defensive as Diotenzio makes his way down to the inside, securing the move just before we get through Cop's Corner and now into the twistier sections. I really am interested to see how they play off the unique dynamics of these cars with some of the more power-oriented circuits, because, of course, I think to the likes of Mexico, for example, you have that higher altitude, so you have the aero changes and the power changes as a result of that lower air density, and as well as that, with, again, how quickly the batteries burn and the active aero only compensating for some of that behavior, it's going to be a game of leapfrog all the way down those longer straights.
As that is going to be Cloud making the move ahead of Dirk Vermont. Down to P10 now from up in the top 5. He's certainly either got damage or he's not accustomed to these conditions, because straight away Salva Olmedo on the outside down towards turn 3 looking for an opportunity. There is Angelo D'Ortenzio as well. I don't imagine these two will keep him behind for much longer as Takubi's gone round. Oh dear me, it's all pandemonium down at the exit of the loop. All cars trying to make their way through. Tony here, Teller's been caught up in that. So is the Aston Martin, as that's going to be Dirk Vermont pulling off the road. And I think he's either got an issue or he's retired from the session on track. Certainly not what he was hoping for. Big shame for Dirk, and he's out on lap 4.
Yeah, it's certainly frustrating, but can you exactly blame him? I mean, I'd argue that given the active aero and everything, I'm not sure if this is confirmed in terms of durability values, but I'd hazard a guess that those wings are even more fragile than we saw in their previous iteration. But you can see right there, there's the boost in play. That's Salva Almeida making a quick sweep onto Martinez just before we get into Maggots and Beckett's right there.
Indeed, it's starting to close up there. The Red Bull of Tom Wolfram there, nearly tapping the back of Toda Hietala through that section. Looking further ahead, we've got no moves for the lead, but they are starting to pull away from Zalambiera and make that 1 second gap even larger. Of course, he wants to stay within a second so we can get that overtake mode to use to his advantage, as it's all getting chaotic down at the braking zone for the hairpin. That's Tony Hietala looking to get the move done on David Martinez. Got that move done earlier on, but all of the carnage down at turn 3 last lap put him under pressure. Now that's Tom Wolfram going through on Tony. I think he's burnt all his battery because there was Finn Geertz for a moment. Looking to make a move as well in the Haas car. Down towards the village we go. No move being made that time by the Haas car, but further ahead, Wolfgram, he's on a charge in the Red Bull, a little bit like Max Verstappen. There goes ahead of David Martinez and puts himself back up into the top 12. A nice move from him and using his battery very well at the moment. As further back, Marcel Pabst, who's trying to recover from a poor race start with a spin down at the final chicane, has now made the move ahead of Finn Geertz and goes up into P15. So some nice recovery from him.
Good running and good recovery. Some drivers have dropped quite significantly owing to some of the earlier chaos, but we are 5 laps in now, and it looks like a few different positions have crystallized. But at the top, Avigabadi on the back of Tomasetto. Tomasetto getting a very clean opening, very clean start. And we have got, of course, the fighting to look forward to, though, is we're on board with Beisner P3 as we speak. But notice how they're not going on the charge. I think also worth noting, we'll see drivers be a little bit more conservative with when they actually choose to attack, considering the level of commitment that a traditional overtake requires now.
As that's David Martinez out. That's going to be a safety car on track. David Martinez out down at the exit of Stowe Corner. I'm not sure what's happened there. Liam Stevens is too far back. Was Tony Hirteller involved? He's taken an interesting route to the pit lane.
It's all right. It's the esports line. Don't worry about it.
And the best thing is he doesn't get a penalty for that.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Things. That is brilliant. An inventive line. Well, the thing is, these are esports drivers. I think we'd be surprised if they don't know the exploits.
Well, it's not even an exploit. That's just optimal. It's just faster.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, would an F1 driver get a penalty for that IRL? Probably, but then again, it depends what the stewards are like, because sometimes they go, nah, it's fine. Other times it's like, right, that's a race ban.
I'd imagine the formal documentation of the stewards report would go something like this. Hey, buddy, race is that way.
Oh, safety car's joining the race. Oh, no. Dear me.
Yeah, we'll get things back on track hopefully soon, but we have, of course, at this point seen a few different drivers who are jumping in and out of the pits, as well as a few drivers. We get the beautiful scenic can. Look at that Cadillac bar. Look at that pit bar. Absolutely stunning. Attention to detail right there. Texture, 10 out of 10. But we do have a bit of a bowing out to the side there. So for the Hortensio, not quite sure what's going on here. We have a little bit of an oddity, as looks like as either letting on through, or there's been a bit of an inconsistency or a bit of an issue with our timing tracking.
Oh no. Dear me, it had to happen, didn't it? I think they're all trying to not get overtaken under safety car penalties, because they're all trying to jump around each other. Oh dear me.
So sneaky, if so. Big if true.
Oh, Angelo.
No. For one to win, someone's got to lose.
Oh. Oh, there we go. Oh no.
Did you know that this DLC comes with the ability to quantum teleport between multiple parallel universes?
Have we had a bit of DC? Because Angelo's now P2, according to this.
What gave it away?
I don't know.
Sorry, that
He's
got
back,
me very off
right.
guard.
Pascal Gilt, severe collision with Valentino Labella. I think we've got a bit of decent going on here.
Yes,
I hope it's
this
not.
is...
Oh!
Ladies and gentlemen...
Did you see the Aston Martin?
Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce to you and remind you of the concept of the social race. Drivers need to remember where their pits boxes are. This is a bit of like a dress rehearsal for the mainline season. Because as you saw right there, I think everyone was confused by the fact that we have 22 instead of 20 cars now. So they went 2 places up, realised, oh, wait, never mind, gone too far. And quickly had to recover themselves to the correct position. Although the pit crew, amazing work turning those cars around so quickly.
Oh, brilliant work. Brilliant work from the pit crew. I mean, to go backwards in a pit lane and not make contact, that takes something. Well, we're glad it wasn't a Ferrari, because I don't think that would have ended well.
Well, either way, we're looking at the safety car returning a little bit of normalcy to the race course as drivers are starting to line up just behind it now.
Fixing itself.
It's gradually restoring balance and restoring
on.
the timeline, as it were.
Where's Angelo's penalty?
I don't know. Left it in the other car.
Just took it off. There we go. Have the penalty. I don't want it now.
Left it. He left it in his other race suit.
Oh, dear me. Driver swap.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
He's in the third chassis. He's in the spare chassis now. It's the penalties are counted by car, so it doesn't count.
I think everybody's back on track though, aren't they?
Looks to be so. The safety car is going to be looping one more time around, so we'll get a little bit more of a chance for the rest of the field to, shall we say, stabilize.
Yes.
But I'm not holding my breath, as right now we do still have quite a lot of displacement amongst the field. We have a few more cars who are heading back into the pits.
Yeah.
Quintino has rejoined, it seems.
Hey, back.
So they'll be back and re-emerging in now P14 when you consider the other drivers who have pitted in. And we have the Cadillac and the Haas at the very back of the field who are looking to try and catch up as well, although Labella is going to be pitting back in under safety car conditions as well.
Oh, this will be interesting. Cloud has stayed out on those hard tyres, of course, started on the hard. He can't go to the end on mediums, so he's been forced to stay out. Now, is he going to cause any issues? Or is he going to let the others race? Because, of course, he's going to be a lot slower. I think on general pace, he's probably slower than the guys in the top 5 anyway. That's without being disrespectful, but given his quality time and, where we normally see him. So he's probably going to struggle a little bit anyway. He's also got tyres that are 6 laps older. You're looking at least 10 or 15% extra tyre wear. So surely he's going to be a little bit careful because cars are going to be bombing in up the inside whenever they have the opportunity, because just say here, Eli Tomasato gets past him. By the time they get out of Chapel, Gabani could be 6-7 tenths behind. So they can't afford to take the risk of being stuck behind a slower Williams, who isn't on their strategy as well.
I'm still processing the shenanigans we saw with the desync earlier.
I've thought of something great. It's a good excuse for a TikTok video to get viral, hopefully. I
Well, now
don't think
that
will.
you've said it, it's not going to happen. That's not how virality works, Nathan. Did they teach you nothing in social media class?
No.
Oh, fair enough. Never mind.
My esports tutor was a business and fashion tutor. So put that where you will.
One that's needed and one that all the students needed. I see no issue.
Oh, dear me. The things we
Right,
end up
perhaps-
talking about reminds me of the past, Ben.
Don't get nostalgic on me now. We're not even halfway through. All right, looks like we have... that is avoiding yellow flag penalties at its finest, ladies and gentlemen.
Reverse.
That is the power of the social race. You see that you're going to get flagged up for a potential yellow flag overtake penalty, so I just think, oh well, that's fine then. I'll just chuck her in reverse.
Oh, dear me. Oh, this has been brilliant. I mean, at one hand, I wish the main season was like this, but on the other hand, I'm like, well, that's more competitive. It can't be like this. That'd be silly. But no, this has been a meme in a race, hasn't it? Like, this is just a meme. There's no other way to put it. And Matthias says, why are these people begging it? Can we go in again? Yes, because I think people are pitting on purpose to keep the safety car out longer. I'm convinced. And I think that's what Matthias means as well.
We do a little pitting here at the social race,
A
apparently.
little?
And yeah,
They've
well,
all pitted 3 times.
That's a little bit of an understatement. How many stops actually are we looking at between the drivers? We pull up the stops.
Have a look. 3 stops at the back.
Perhaps then Labella having a bit of fun then, clearly.
Well, Liam Stevens had damage. Gabriel Quintino quit with lag. So I suppose they're fair, but Labella and Pabst, I don't think any of them got damage. So, yes, that's an interesting one. Everybody else has done a stop, but Cloud, who still stays out on his hard tyre. Everybody else is on a hard, so I don't need to bore everybody with the hard 1 lap on the side of the screen. We'll take it off and give you actually a little bit of screen. There we go. The safety car is in. About time. Now, Cloud can either cause chaos and go really slow and confuse them, or just boot it and see what he can do.
Well, let's see what the timing is like, because that's going to be the big factor here. Everyone else is weaving, trying to keep the temperatures under control in those tyres, but Cloud is literally running completely straight. He's not doing any weave or any kind of sorts, because He has to keep the rest of the field on their toes. Make our way slowly through Stowe Corner and then coming through. It is going to be gunning it now at the looks of things. Really pushing it as we get out of Vale and into Club Corner. Getting quite the jump on the rest of the field here as we go green flag once more. Ignore the top left. It is not safety car conditions or yellow flag conditions. Say normal grip levels. Brand new warning there, and immediately the fireworks coming out. Beisner's on the attack. Here's Tomasetto also going for a bit of a counter onto the inside of Village Corner, and both of them go side by side. The Ferrari poking the nose in, saying hi, wanting to get involved, having a bit of fun while we're at it, and that's also even going to bring Bieda into things. He peeks to the left side as we go down the Wellington Straight, heading into Brooklyn's defensive move coming there from Gabbardi onto the apex and holding the line firm, squeezing them out, closing the door as we go out through Luffield.
Some great work there by Beisner, of course, to get the jump on both Tomasetto and Gabbardi, and I think Gabbardi was also on the jump of Tomasetto. That just shows the reaction time from Lucas Beisner. Impeccable from him. He moves up to P2. Here we have Angelo D'Ortenzio under pressure from Takubi in the Williams as we make our way down towards Haggetts and Beckett's once again, and looking further ahead, despite older tyres, Cloud is running away. 1.1 seconds is his gap to Lucas Beisner. Third is Elliot Tomasetto in the Red Bull, and under pressure is Alan Bieda from Ivan Eskrig in the V-Carb as they head down to Stowe. Tony Hirtella also making a move, sweeping it up the inside. Gabbardi goes past Tomasetto down at the chicane, and here's Hirtella trying to get ahead of Takubi. Side by side through in towards Club and Vale. On the exit, it's going to be Tony Hirtella's position up into the top 9 for the Aston Martin.
Well, it's a good push here, and lesson in racing dynamics for those unawares. When you're fighting and going back and forth between other cars, it's the key element that you're going to be losing time regardless of how well that fight's going for you, because you're not focused on driving optimally, you're focused on getting ahead. Take, for example, Zach Styler right here. He's on the defensive as he's got Tekeby right down the inside as we head down into the Wellington Straight. No matter how these two play it, they're going to be losing time compared to the likes of Hitala, D'Ortenzio and co further up ahead. Minor contact from Tomasetto trying to close the gap as we go out through Luffield and into the second and third sectors of the track right now. It's going to be a bit of a close call as drivers are trying to gauge, see exactly where they are. You can see a little bit of burn of the battery here and there just to try and keep proximity, and more than anything, just trying to keep the pressure up on your opponents.
Indeed, and Tomasetto still in that battle, goes back ahead of Abe Gabbardi, jumps up into P3, and Lucas Beisner on the back of Cloud. Now, we said once he catches up to the back of Cloud, he needs to make the move quickly, which I'd imagine is what he's going to try and do. To the outside for the Alpine, swoops around and takes the lead of the race. Now, if he can keep Cloud with Tomasetto behind, it's a big opportunity for Beisner to run away with this and give himself a decent gap for the remainder of the race. I guarantee there's still a situation where Tomasetto's back within a second, but it's a big opportunity for Lucas Beisner to pull away and give himself a little bit of a buffer at least as we head through the opening couple of corners. Down towards Village we go. Tomasetto on the attack of the Williams. The Williams keeps it on the outside. Switches to the inside for the loop and then down to Aintree. Some brilliant battling here between these two for second and third. But there's much more grip, much more power. And Tomasetto into second. And you imagine it here, Gabbardi will jump up into third. And I think that they're a bit of respect saying, thank you for letting me through, Clade, because you've just saved me a lot of work through this section of track.
Yeah, as they saved a little bit of work, but ultimately, drivers' aggression in their overtakes is rewarded in this new specification of Formula One. It's something that we've observed a little bit with just the dramatic speed differences going into some of these straights, and where we've got the overtake zones, we've got the S mode, as it were. It really is just, you can see how drivers commit much more to single moves rather than playing tentatively on the fence sometimes. Like it was, you were trying to play for every outcome. Now you have to be a lot more decisive, a lot more committal, because you either commit your majority of your resources knowing you can get them back and recover fast, or you hold firm and just try and play a bit more mind games. It's much more of a split decision.
Definitely is a send there up the inside from the V-Carb, trying to get ahead of Cloud. D'Ortenzio joins the party as well, the same with Tony Hirtella. Back to turn one we go. Lucas Beisner still in the lead. I'd imagine, though, Gabbardi's going to pressure a move then towards turn 3. He backs off, won't go for the move there. What about Hortensio here? As that's going to be Eskrig on the inside of Cloud. Hortensio trying to shape himself up to maybe get ahead of both of them as they're clattering together in towards the loop and Aintree. Still, Cloud holds firm in P5. And here is Hortensio. Will he go to the inside? Of course he will. Why wouldn't he? The Mercedes looking to get on the attack ahead of the Williams. Side by side into Brooklands. By the time they head into Luffield, that will be Hortensio a full car length ahead. Tony Hitala is stuck behind Cloud for the moment. You'd imagine he can get the run down towards Stowe Corner on this lap later on. Here's Hortensio. Can he make a move ahead of Eskrig? His side by side. He's ahead of Eskrig by the time they head into Copse Corner. But then again, being as he started last, I thought he'd be in the top 10. I didn't quite think he'd be in the top 5 with over 13 laps to go, as we have had a change for the lead.
Like I say, I really do like how you can still really just plant the nose into the corners, even if you don't have as much lateral grip as you used to, as much aerodynamic grip. You can still very much plant the cars into corners. We do see the drivers not throw the front end in, but you do really see them fully, again, commit to that rotation. And we do see Hitala getting a little bit side by side here. There's Eskrig there as well. Go further down, you have Tekubi, who has completely stopped on track and unghosted at the worst time. Low grip has been enabled. We have restrictions of the driving mode as there is a full course yellow. Is that a confirmed safety car, or is that just a FCY in virtual?
Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure that car went into the pit lane, hence why I looked to follow it. A blue car shot off into the pits, then spawned at the exit of turn 17.
What? Okay, shenanigans are indeed afoot.
Another glitch at play as Takubi leaves the session. Don't blame him. After that, that's not ideal at all. Oh, no, the safety car is out. It's there. Oh no.
Okay, nice safety car. Okay, we do have a bit of a confirmation there. Oh, say, from by Contrino's account, Cloud just appeared in the middle of the road, and
Takubi, yeah.
That's what... Or is it a Tekubi? So that's sort of the contributor to the chaos that we're seeing. What a moment!
Yeah, because on my screen he went to the pit lane because that's why I tried to follow him. So, what's going on here? Oh, what's happened to Kabaddi? He's dropping down the field. He was up in the top 3. Oh no, it's happened again. Oh dear me. And they're all getting... I mean, I think the lobby's broken, isn't it? Yeah. I think it's done and dusted, ladies and gentlemen.
This is... Look, they know it's a social race. They want to get the good screenshots with the media. That's where their heads are at. They're playing the team game. And by team game, I mean they're thinking... They're looking out for us, Nathan. They've got our interests at heart. They're all lining up side by side together. They want to get the good photo moments.
I mean, this has been rather comedic. I'll put that into words, certainly. I don't think I've quite seen a lobby like this in a long time. But then again, I mean, that is great. For our return, this is what we get given. Brilliant. So, after they're going to pit in, top 4 have stayed out. Oh no.
Yeah, so the good thing is about these sort of situations, we know full well that it is a classic case, I think, of lobby desync, but it also gives us a chance to test the waters on a technical level.
I think
we've got a few new bits for the broadcast, for example. We can try out, we can see the stability of the lobbies and how it is all like with 22 cars now, and see how everything in terms of dynamics actually plays out. So it's a good test bed just as much as it is a good time for us, and shall we say a little bit of comedy and chaos?
Yeah, definitely. I think if this was a normal PSGL league race, when we had the first issue of desync on lap 7, it would have been right. New lobby, we'll go again and we'll restart from the beginning. It's a social race. Do you really need to restart? No. Because the drivers don't really care. All right, if they're in the top 3, maybe they do care about winning, but in general, they don't. They're here to have a bit of fun. They know the stakes are not high at all, if any. So they'll just keep going. Why not? You know, by now half of the lobby would have retired, but they're just going to carry on. They've all served their penalties in the pit lane, luckily, bar 2. And yeah, they'll have a bit of fun to the end now. And of course, Lucas Meissner on the mediums has to get past a whole bunch of hard compound tyres that are 8 laps old. This could be, yet again, a little bit comedic and a little bit chaotic.
I think that's putting it mildly, but we are going to at least see the grid reconvene with not as much drama as last time, which potentially means that we got a little bit more stability, a little bit more of a lobby status restored. But we'll have to sort of see how it plays out. We're probably going to be heading off on lap 17 at least, unless there is any shenanigans to extend that pit time and that safety car time as a result, which means that we'll have around 10 clean laps of racing remaining.
Certainly. As our owner, Kryptonite, couldn't put this any more perfectly. It's a year-old game and it's still not fit for purpose. Oh, dear me.
Well, I know this was a bit more of a... it was an executive decision in order to prepare for F127, so...
Yes. Oh,
sort of take it with the pinch of salt that the release schedule entails.
I mean, at least we've got the cars. We've got the cars, the tracks, free modes all sorted out, lobbies are all sorted out to the right amount of people. So now a lot of it can go into just making things that little bit better. I personally think that the 1 year break was good because yes, I spent a few months, quite a few months putting this together. But they now get a year to build on what they've already got. They've essentially got a year and a half rather than around 8 to 9 months.
It's a net positive.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it will be a net positive for the future. And even if now this does mean that, because I know that there was some issues or complaints, shall we say, about a lack of, I think, co-op career, was it? That was an issue that was raised at one point.
I was upset about that, yeah.
Yeah, no, but at the end of the day, it will be, as far as the future of the of F1 as a esport, although that may be sort of too over-encompassing of the point, it is a net positive. It allows the time, they can just use the technical base they have, and even if it doesn't fully simulate to the fidelity that maybe even the team at Cody's and EA want, it is the appropriate stopgap solution in order to focus their efforts on making 27 the best that it can be.
Yes.
That's how I see it.
I think 27 will be quite good. And I'm not just saying that because we say it every year. Genuinely, I think they've realised, right.
It's a concerted effort.
Yeah. I think
they've made a dramatic choice, which does lend a lot more confidence in us saying it here.
I mean, 22, in my opinion, wasn't very good. 23 was a step in the right direction. Then they went totally wrong in 24. Got a tiny bit better in 25, and I'd say overall this game's probably better than 25. So it's been a bit of an up and down scale. But I think the good thing is they've noticed that every year people complain about the game. Casuals don't, but the esports players and those that play competitively complain every year. Before it was a case of right, same old, same again. Another game which has got issues as Stevens gets another penalty. It was the case of another game, more issues, more dislikes. Whereas now they thought right. This year, we're actually going to meet the complaints. We realise that we've messed up for the past 4 years on the trot. Right, let's fix it. And now they put the effort in to prove they care, which I think is a good thing, because now we're going to get, hopefully, a brand new, fresh game. They've had an extra 6 to 9 months to work on it. You're hoping that with the boundaries set in place and the baseline set in place already, it's just a case of making things better, which at the moment isn't a bad place to start with, in my opinion. I think we've got a decent step in for this game, personally, knowing that this is not a full game, technically.
Yeah, it is, at the end of the day, a DLC for retrofitting the 25 platform onto the 26 regulations, which are fundamentally different. So there's going to be some inconsistencies. And
aren't they using a new engine as well?
Well, I wouldn't say that it's been failures the past years, but there have been missteps as well as steps forward. It's the classic sort of 2 steps forward, 1 step back principle, because there's going to be issues at the same time as there are strides forward. Each game has iterated on the last, but this is, again, a statement of intent to say that we want to take the time in order to fully realize maybe the vision that they've had since the very beginning, but not been given the scope to do so.
Yeah.
Like there is a lot of talent behind these games. So that's almost approval as well, that statement of intent. But that's a conversation for at least halfway into the the current cycle of the game. And anyway, we are going to get back rolling lap 17 as we get things off to a mighty start. Weissner with a little bit of a slip on the rear axle. We have the straight mode and boost being restored, so cars have full functionality again. An interesting way to handle well, what is effectively the removal of the DRS and effectively limiting the functionality in the same way under the safety car, but immediately pushes are up, and you can see just how quickly, once again, how quickly the cars converge. Here's Almeida quickly getting caught unawares as we go into the Wellington straight out of Aintree. Big push coming in from the Audi, big push coming in from the Alpine as well. Weissner going to the inside, even taking a bit of slip angle, as that was looking like a dramatic move. Contact made, big slide coming in from the Aston, and that is going to be Eskrig in the V-Cub, also making a bit of a swing through. Just a couple of corners, multiple exchanges.
Certainly, and a great restart there by Weissner, as that's going to be Almeida going very wide out of Kops, allowing Cloud through. And this strategy has worked quite well for Cloud, as that's going to be Marcel Paps, dispatched by Lucas Weissner. I'd imagine that Ivan Eskrig isn't going to be that far behind in making that move to jump up into P6. Of course, up in the lead it is Elliot Tomasesso ahead of Zalan Bieda and Angelo Dortenza, your top three. Weissner is on the attack. He's 5/10 away at the moment from Zach Styler. As we head on the brakes, Eskrig is going for the send up the inside in towards the chicane and somehow misses the Alpine. I don't know how. He's not taken Weissner off into the runoff, but he's managed to get the move done, and that was definitely a code brain moment for him. As we head our way back into turn one further ahead, Dortenzio is on the attack of Zalan Bieda, looking to put his Mercedes into P2, knowing that, you know, those on the mediums aren't that far down the road, and they'll be looking to get on the attack of him as well.
A hair's breadth almost feels too generous, because that really was right down to the wire. Is Vitala going up into P8, Paps down in P9, and opening the door for a potential counter-attack as they get very close to each other, although not quite getting on the attack. Here is Raptor going past Almeida here and making a pretty clean and efficient move going through Brooklands and into Luffield now. The field has quickly converged. We sort of see microcosms, little battles. There is that boost in full action. Almost textbook display of it being deployed, as that was a very smooth overtake, again dumping most of the battery to execute on that move, and in the end it is going to be a pretty quick move there. Multiple cars jostling, they're all going to be pushing through. Here is Beckett, and now Chapel. It's three abreast almost for a split second there as they go wheel to wheel, toe to toe, and as we get down into Stowe Corner, they do start to space out, as I imagine that they would have committed everything to those moves and they need time to recover.
Certainly, Stevens goes ahead of Marcel Paps, who now jumps out the top 10, of course. Was caught on early by Weissner and Eskrig, and then after that he's just falling down and down in the field, as we do see Dortenzio once again on the back of Bieda, and Zach Styler's joining the party too in fourth, as that's going to be Dortenzio up the inside in towards Village Corner. Bieda's got the inside in towards the loop, and this is going to have to be Dortenzio putting his foot to the floor quickest and trying to get some extra grip on the exit of the corner. Can he quite do so? It's still going to be side by side, barely, as they head down towards Brockland's corner. Zach Styler's there too. Can he try and make an inroad and possibly catch Dortenzio off guard? No, but it has brought Lucas Weissner straight into the battle. The Alpine on the back of the Cadillac, through Luffield they go, now into Woodcut, and then a short run up towards Kopp's corner. But Weissner, if he's not going to get this move done soon, he's going to have to worry about Eskrig, because he knows, well, if Weissner can't do it, I'm going to have to put matters into my own hands to make a move, as that's going to be Dortenzio around the outside. A superb overtake and goes into second.
Yeah, big sweep going through Maggins now into Beckett's and Chapel, as it's going to be side by side even more. Bieda and Styler, they go fully committed to this move. It's a proper drag race. How's Weissner going to take this? He sweeps a little bit further to the outside. He tucks in behind the McLaren, hoping to get maybe a little bit of a cutback and a bit more speed on the exit. Can't quite leverage, but he does use that battery. He pushes hard and goes side by side as we go out of Vale into Club Corner now, and it's a big swing. Here is Eskrig as well, who was kind of looking on at the whole scenario like a vulture. I think he's waiting to see how these drivers play it out and how it all plays into his hands. He can fish for scraps and then eventually make the move his own. He's briefly peeking to the left side there, but he doesn't have the space to do it. Gets the switchback. Big push through the loop, but is going to get squared out and boxed in as we get into the Wellington Straight.
Certainly, some great overtaking, and this game proving that you can have some quite good battles on track as Eskrig again up the inside of Biera. Also joining the party, Tony Hietala on the outside and the Aston Martin, and slight contact between the two cars. They'll make their way out of Luffield and into Woodcote, and still Biera's holding ahead of Hietala for now. Into Copse Corner they go. Has the Aston Martin got enough to edge up the inside and make the move? Yes, he can. Up into P6 goes Tony. A superb move by him. And Bison gets the better of Styler, through in towards Maggots and Beckett, but Styler's going to fight back in towards the final part of the chicane. They head their way back down towards Stowe Corner. And Styler went for it again, but couldn't quite have the grip and purchase on the outside line. Now Lucas Bison enters himself into the top three, and you'd imagine with the power he's got in those tyres, he should probably stay there, I'd imagine, or at least stay in the top four as Esquig's going up the inside into the chicane.
Yeah, I say those tyres are another element that we do need to talk about at least a little bit. The profile of the tyres being somewhat different, slightly different. They're not a dramatic change per se, but they certainly have slightly different profiles, and that is going to play into the amount of available mechanical grip levels, which also affects your medium to low speed cornering.
Indeed, there we have battling between the V-Carb and the Cadillac. Allows Lucas Bison to put himself a little bit of distance between that battle. So he's now got a nice 3/10 gap back to the V-Carb as Tony Hietala's back again. Oh, that's a McLaren off into the barriers. That's Ellen Biera off into the wall. Does rejoin in towards Brooklands, but that was a scary moment indeed for the McLaren, and he'll pull over to the side, and I'd imagine that's his day done. And here is Tony Hietala, though, back in the action. Looking to jump up into the top five here ahead of Zach Styler, who's doing a great job to hold off in that Cadillac. Seeing how quickly the others drop down the field, he's doing a great job to hold on to P5 for now, but he can't hold on for much longer. And the Aston Martin fires through. Now, with the tyres still being quite strong for the mediums, but it seems that that advantage has kind of equalled out. Do you think that because of the battery, it's going to be difficult for Bison to get ahead of D'Ortenzio and Tomasetto because they can just pull each other along and realistically give Bison no big opportunity or advantage?
Yeah, I think the defender's advantage is a lot stronger than it was in previous iterations, purely because of how powerful the battery deployment is. If you have a tank saved up, and we see this as a very common strategy, which is to save up your battery as much as you can towards the end of the race, and then basically dump it all towards that final lap in order to counter any kind of attacking and aggressive moves. But we're going to see that even more so by the drivers up ahead. We do see multiple jostles and multiple position changes. We see a lot of DNFs as we are down from the initial 22 to 15 cars. So that is going to be 7 retirees. And now we have even more fighting, as that is Cloud just getting ahead of Zach Styler, slotting in behind Hietala. And the top 5 have started to displace and get away quite neatly, but everyone else is still just as much of a war zone.
I'd say the battling has been superb in this race. I mean, yes, we know we've had issues with desync, but you take that away, the on-track action has been brilliant. You know, they've gave us a really good show, have the drivers here tonight. Yes, I know we've got the more unorthodox strategies going through with drivers on the hards and others on newer mediums, but either way, we've had some brilliant battling, and the cars being smaller, yet again, they can battle a little bit more, can't they? And with the battery being more aggressive, you can just get drivers bursting out of nowhere. As that's Cloud looking to go ahead of Hietala down towards Stowe Corner. The Williams has got an inch ahead for now and will stay in P6. Good work by him as the two Cadillacs come together on track. Zach Styler trying to hold off from Valentino Labella. Marcel Pabst is in that one as well as they head in towards turn 1. Perhaps not had the best race, but of course got into those issues earlier on, as that's going to be Labella shooting up the inside and making a move. Same as well for Marcel Pabst in the Audi, looking to get ahead of Zach Styler, who have meeting again. They was up together earlier on, a few ups later. They're down together in 10th and 11th.
Yeah, it's big sweeps and big moves coming in. It's a bit of a different dynamic that all the drivers are getting used to tonight, and especially if they've been here in the previous social races, they've had time to acclimatize. There is a different level of strategy, and some might argue that the racing has become more artificial because you press a button and you overtake, but the emphasis then becomes on knowing when to deploy that ability, when to use the resource that you have in your pocket. It's a more extreme version of what we already had, and like with any mechanic that gives you an advantage, it's about how you use it and how you manage it, and that mind game as well as the strategic element is even more emphasized. For example, take right now, Beisner making his way down to Stowe through the hangar straight. He is going to be deploying, but he's going to be recharging just as quickly, saving up for his next attack while putting pressure on his opponent Diotensio in P2. That is exactly the kind of thing we're looking for. It's more aggressive, it's more forward, and even if some might argue that it isn't as raw racing in the same sense, it's just a strategic shift.
Well, look at the gap there. It was Lucas Beisner was comfortably 7/10 back. Out of nowhere, he's 2/10 behind Hortensio, and he's got even Eskrig 1.3 seconds back. As soon as he runs out of battery, Eskrig is 5/10 behind. Immediately, things change, things switch, and big gaps come down and go up. As Stevens makes the move and jumps up into P4, and now Hortensio looking for a move for the lead of the race in towards Brooklyn's corner, but he's a little bit too far back now. But the more that these two battle, the more that Lucas Beisner is going to be there and ready to attack.
We talked about the decisiveness of your attacks and your moves before and how important it is under these new regulations. That rings true even more now as you see P1 and P2 share a very close space of track. We're on the penultimate lap now. We're going to see those hard tyres start to give way, and they're not as dramatic of a drop-off as the mediums, which will definitely be starting to feel some of the load now. But simultaneously, they need to keep out of each other's way if they want any chance of retaining their top two spots. Not necessarily cooperating, but just doing enough to commit to their positions and not letting the egos take over, because that's when Bison's going to be right there, really getting close as we squeeze down through Vale and Club now. And he's going to take a stab at it. He's going to take a swing the minute these two drop for even a millisecond.
Well, Hortensio took the lead and immediately thought, oh, I'm not going to have overtake mode. So we tried to slow down to put Tomasetto ahead, who now swings through into the lead. And of course, we'll have that overtake mode all lap long as Hortensio goes a tad wide. He then gets the inside into the loop and then up towards Aintree. This is going to get close. This is going to get messy, as here is the two cars on the medium tyres. Liam Stevens out of nowhere is up the inside of Lucas Beisner. Could he charge through and maybe make a late claim to the lead of the race? He's now on the outside of Elliot Tomasetto. They're making slight contact. It could be a Mercedes 1-2. We know Stevens has a penalty, but the penalty doesn't matter because it was given due to desync. So now Liam Stevens might have a shot at the win.
And through goes... Wait, I can't say that. P1 and P2 for Mercedes at the opening round. I know that their real-life allegiances are somewhat different, but look at the swing! There's Tomasetto! He goes for a real haymaker as we go into Magnussen Beckett, and look...
Oh, he spun!
Track, and he's a big spin! He's captured in the heat of it all. Hortensio is caught in the crossfire. It's a last-minute straight shot. Stevens and Beisner. Stevens on the defensive. He goes to the right side. The left is hold. In by Beisner. It's got to be one or two more corners to decide this.
Last lap chaos. Is there anything that Beisner can do ahead of Stevens? He gets tapped by Hirtala, who goes spinning rain. So Beisner claims B2. Cloud into the top three. And it's Liam Stevens that wins in Silverstone. Two cars pushing each other off the track at the line. And of course, penalties for Stevens drops him down to the back of the field pretty much. So on track, it will be Lucas Beisner with the win, Cloud P2, and 5 thousandths back. Those two were the ones that run each other off the road. It was Ivan Eskrig rounding off your top three. What a race that was. Oh dear me, I mean, if we get that in the main season, I mean, that's going to be box office every week. Wait till you get your esports slot in there.
That was a race. One of the races of all time, one might even argue. We hemorrhaged half the grid throughout that entire proceeding, but at the end of the day, it was a race to test the water, and those waters were certainly tested.
Indeed, and we'll ask a couple if they want to come for an interview because I want to kind of learn a bit more about the racing and what they thought. It's always great to kind of have a chat with drivers. So, in a social race, that means nothing. The results also mean barely anything realistically. It was Lucas Boisner that took the win ahead of Cloud in second place, and third was Ivan Eskrig in the V car. Fourth place was Tom Wolfgram ahead of Valentino Labella. Great work by him, and the same goes for Zach Styler in P6. It was Marcel Pabst in 7th ahead of Finn Gertz in 8th. 9th was Tony Hietala and Liam Stevens with 23 seconds of penalties in 10th. I mean, that is an achievement. Esteban Ocon style. Salva Olmedo, P11, and then it was Pascal Gil, 12th, with the retirements of Hortensio and Tomasetto, who, of course, Tomasetto spun, heading into Chapel, caught Hortensio with him. Those two went spearing off into the barriers, and then we lost Supply Raptor, Zalambieda, Gabriel Quintino, Vortex Steg, Avgabadi, Takubi, David Martinez, and Dirk Vermond. Oof, that was a race and a half.
Like I said, one of the races of all time.
Certainly. Social race-wise, definitely. I don't think we've seen a good one like that for quite a while.
Well, I do hope that we get to hear a couple of opinions and see what the perspectives were. I mean, right out the gate, before we even say anything and talk to the drivers who made it through that war of attrition, one might even argue, we do, of course, need to address the desynced elephant in the room, and I think that was a major factor in certainly the penalties, as you rightly highlighted, but it seemed to stabilize by the time we get to the second half, but I think it did still psych out a lot of the drivers, because once you get desync, you're constantly on edge. You don't know whether they're going to be consistent around the track around you or not.
Yeah, definitely. I think the main thing is just being caught off guard. I suppose a little bit like real F1 when we saw with Behrman and Colapinto in Japan, where, of course, the closing speed was that heavy and the battery difference is so high, you never quite know who's going to be where and, when your opportunities are going to come. And we saw that in this race as well, out of nowhere. Tomasetto, when he went into the lead, he just caught both Mercedes and shot past them like there was an F1 versus F2 car.
Yeah, it really is just I think I never really paid it much mind, but tonight really put on display just how potent the new regulations are in terms of producing moment-to-moment drama. Like, the amount of power that you can deploy at the push of a button and the amount of difference that makes. And I stand by what I said earlier, is that it's not necessarily the changing of the dynamics, but a strategic shift to be far more immediate.
Certainly. I don't think we're going to get anybody for an interview, unfortunately, which is a shame. We've had interviews in most of the social races I've commentated in anyway. So we'll bring ourselves back to the camera screen where you can see me and Snappy's logo. Of course, it's been a pleasure once again to be back here once more. Great racing today, of course. I'd imagine we have more social races under the cover ready to get underway, and maybe I'll have to come back on Monday if we do have another one then, because today was absolutely amazing. But of course, with the new season hopefully not that far away, it probably would be a good idea, wouldn't it, Ben, that drivers know where to get in contact with us and find us?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we're on, say, Twitter or X now, at Premier SimGL. We've got Premier SimGL pretty much is our main tag for everything. So Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, you can find us all there. YouTube, of course, you know where we are already, but be free and definitely be sure to check out the other social races that have gone on both today and also in the weeks prior. And if you are certainly looking forward to the season that is to come, once all is said and done, then definitely be sure to subscribe and put a thumbs up on the stream if you liked the chaos in the show today. I definitely certainly have a bit of an appreciation as well for the fact that I'm certainly been more behind the scenes as of late, been more of the production side, the asset side, so it's really nice to jump back in the comms box. So thanks, Nathan, for inviting me.
Yes, it's been a big pleasure to be back alongside you once again, Ben. Of course, as I said earlier on, I think it's been about 5 seasons since we've been in a commentary box, ignoring E-Series, which I think we did 1 or 2 rounds of last season or the season before. So yes, it's been great to be back alongside you once more. But guys, that is all for tonight. It's been a pleasure to bring you another great race here on PSGL. I'm hoping that we'll be back Monday for another social race. That's normally the typical pattern, Monday and Thursday. So if there is another one Monday, then we'll be back. If not, we'll probably see you next Thursday for some more action. But it's been a pleasure to bring you the show, and we'll be back next time. So have a good evening, have a good weekend, and we'll hopefully see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.